Okay. So it seems that he's recording. Let's do it. Everybody okay? Everybody good? Yes? Alive at least? That is already beginning. And today, as I am a very good monk, we're going to do some prayers. Inspiration, aspirational prayers, as I like to say, because otherwise I go and I start talking and I don't stop talking, then we don't do aspirational prayer. But these aspirational prayers are very important because they help to um settle and really make our motivation stronger. Someone asked me, but like, what do you do like to keep the mind and I say, well, the most important to keep the mind well during the day is by setting out a very strong motivation, right? And coming back to that motivation again and again. Because otherwise, if we forget why we're doing certain things, then as we know, the autopilot comes in, and the autopilot, it's not necessarily our friend, right? Our autopilot right now doesn't bring us to the sun pass, kind of like, what is the name of that lane? Express lane. It doesn't. It actually brings us sometimes to the opposite direction. We want to go to, it's like me driving in Florida the first time. I wanted to go I think I was going to Delray, and I was going down to Fort Lauderdale because I didn't know the direction. So that's a little bit of what our autopilot does with us. We want to be happy, we don't want to suffer, and we say, oh, okay, I want to be happy, I don't want to suffer, so I need to go that direction. But actually, we go to the other direction, right? We create more suffering for ourselves, we create more problems. So that's why we need to create. But in a way, in the beginning, Lama Zopa Rinpoche used to say something that I always loved. He used to say, in the beginning, we need to do some force, we need to put some strength, to create and to change. It's almost like, turning the wheel. Sometimes it's like, because for us right now, the wheel wants to go to that direction. So we need to put a little bit of strength to transform our motivation. However, as everything, because that is the science and the mechanics of our mind, whatever we do, the more we do it, the easier it becomes, right? So that means either for the negative aspect or for the positive ones. So that is why it's good for us to understand, gives us hope that we can actually transform and change, isn't it? We can. As I like to say, a motivation and the autopilot that we have is just a habit, nothing else. Just a very ingrained habit. Therefore, by its nature, if it is a habit, it is changeable. It's a character, it's a quality of a habit. It can be changed, right? So we just need to make or to use our body, our speech, whatever we have in our day-to-day lives to help us this transformation. So that's why we do these prayers, right? These prayers, different than in other religions, is not that we are trying to get someone to do something for us, right? It's actually the idea that we want to transform our own minds, and therefore we need to, let's say, habituate ourselves. That is the idea. Make sense what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's why we do prayers, in Buddhism. That's why we like all the some practitioners don't need to be monk or nun, We do some kind of like sadhanas and prayers every day. That is a way to kind of like familiarize ourselves. So if you wake up and the first thing you read is, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness, that is already something that helps to change that mind, right? The instant mind that is already thinking, oh, what do I need? What I have, oh, this person or that, that, Especially when we wake up, the first thing we look is the phone and then everything, that is happening. So, but actually, if we wake up and we have like a more subtle mind, more relaxed mind, and we go and we start doing these prayers, it's good because the mind is a little bit cleaner, when we wake up. It's less agitated, less, contaminated with everything that comes, right? So that's why we say that doing these prayers in the morning is so important. And the more we do these prayers, the more we habituate, the stronger it becomes, that intention. And then it becomes easier to, when the moment comes during the day, to actually remind yourself, right? It's a reminder. It's like an anchor. It just goes like, oh, yes, the motivation. Oh, yes, the motivation. Oh, yes, the intention. Because every moment there is an intention and a motivation behind. Every moment means every movement of the mind, every speech, every word spoken, every movement of the body, right? Not like kind of like the heart pumping. That doesn't have so much an intention because it's just the automatic. But the reason why I do it like this is, my back is hurting. So there's an intention in that. Everything is an intention. Okay? So therefore, we can always be choosing the type of intention and motivation we want. So the more we do it, the easier it becomes. Okay? That's why we do these prayers. So here, the first thing we are trying to do is to make our minds in unlimited and unconditional with these four immeasurable thoughts. That's what we are trying to do. So we are trying to think that everything that we have right now, everything that we have experienced is due to the kindness of others. That these people or these beings, animals as well, just like us, they woke up today and they wanted to be happy. They wanted to not suffer. Exactly like us, right? Every single person, even those that we might find hard to believe. We all know someone in our lives. So even those beings, they are also, under the influence or under the wish of being wanting to be happy and not suffer. So that's why we need to think also about them, to expand our minds, expand our wish, to actually help them. Right? Bless you. Okay, so let's have that in mind. So what we try to do, the visualization, bless you, dear. The way the you have there's the I think there's there. Look, yeah. Thank you. The visualization that we try to do here is that we try to visualize around us, all around and behind us, all our friends and family as a sort of support, right? It's like they have our backs. They are there with us, so we visualize behind us and around us, like here, our friends, and you are kind of like here in the middle. And then you also think that even those beings that you don't like so much, those that you have difficulties, those that have hurt you, those that you cannot even hear their names, they also want to be happy and not suffer. We also gonna do this aspirational for them. So we try to visualize them in front of us as a way to counteract that anger that wants to just get rid of them. We just visualize them as a way to help us open our hearts. Hmm? Everyone that we have hurt or that has hurt us, we do that. Yeah. And then with these beings, the people that we like and the people that we don't like, probably is 0.01% of the population. Not even this, right? 8 billion people we have in the world. So then we just visualize all of these other beings that we have no idea who they are, but without them, we would not have anything that we want, right? Because we cannot, all the food, all of the air conditioning, internet, everything that we enjoy, Netflix, Instagram, all of this, due to the kindness of these people. And we don't know them, right? So we also think about them because they also today, they woke up and they wanted to be happy and not suffer. Okay? So I really try to do that. It's a very powerful meditation, just that visualization. It's like, wow, you know, I'm interconnected with all of these beings. Hmm. Very special. Okay? So with that, we're gonna do these prayers. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. And may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So, how do we, this is a short version of this prayer. There is a longer version that every time we say something, we say, may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. May they abide in equanimity. I will cause them to abide in equanimity. Then it becomes a strong determination to say, I will do whatever I have to do to help that become true. That becomes then what we call bodhicitta intention, right? Is the intention to be able to accomplish this. This is very easy. We are here sitting here and say, may I be happy. No, very good. So what the prayer actually says is like, put that in your mind, but try to just not be an intention. Try to accomplish it and use your body, speech, and mind to do that, right? So I'll take responsibility for that, okay? To be able to do it. And for that, in order for us to be able to accomplish this, because we understand a little bit more now what the Buddhist path is proposing us, so we realize that right now, I'm going to offend everybody, so be prepared. So we are not ready to actually help everybody. I'm sorry to say that. We are not, right? We can't. We cannot even help sometimes ourselves. Sometimes we are like, in bed, we don't want to get out of bed. We just like make ourselves, miserable. Or we get angry, or we kind of like, this person did that, this person said that. So we cannot even help others. How we can make all sentient beings, be free from suffering if we cannot do it ourselves. So that's why we need to take refuge in things that will help us really accomplish that goal of helping sentient beings. So by taking refuge in methods, in the guidance, and in helpers that can help us do what? Achieve a state where we have everything. We have perfect wisdom, means we know everything what is best for everyone without thinking. Just kind of like, we look at that and say, oh, okay, so she needs that, he needs that, this, that, without thinking, And then but just wisdom, I can just see and say, okay, that's their problem. Then we need to have unlimited compassion, the wish to actually then do manifest in whatever ways possible, even if I manifest as a little warm or something like this to help that person, right? Whatever way, whatever. And then strength, power. And the power and the strength means the continuity, knowing that you're going to do that until all of them are enlightened. And that might take a bit of time. But you just keep going. You just have that strength, that joy, that effort to do it. Just keep going. It doesn't matter if it is problem, doesn't matter if problems are happening, just keep going. So we need to develop these 3 characteristics. Okay? And for that, that is the state of enlightenment. That is what the enlightenment in Buddhism means. And that's what we want to achieve. That's the ultimate goal of the Buddhist path. Yeah? So we understand, we say, yes, I want to help others because others are suffering. So in order to do that, I need to do first myself. So we're going to see it here in the prayer, the 898, isn't it? Yes. I go for refuge until I am enlightened. Okay? So that means that I need to get enlightened first. If I don't get enlightened first, it's like I don't know how to swim and I try to to save you from the ocean. That's normally, or what many times happens, like people that have not so many skills in business or things like that, they go and they open a business, and they kind of like don't work. It doesn't work. They really try, but it doesn't work, right? And then they say, why not? Well, they didn't have the skills, they didn't have the qualities, right? Or they want to build a house without being an engineer or an architect. I don't know you guys, but I don't think sometimes I'm like, no, let's renovate these, let's take these, and then boom, the wall. you know? So that is how we kind of like we think about ourselves. No, of course we can help. No, yes, we can help now, but we need to understand that there is a limitation in the way we can help others, right? So we want to explode that limitation. We want to be completely unlimited in the ways we can help others. Okay? So that's why we go to refuge, to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. The Buddha is the perfect, the being, the leader or the guide that has done this path and say, that is the path. If you follow it, if you do it, you're going to achieve the same state of enlightenment, the same state of no more suffering and perfection of the wisdom, compassion, and power. And then you can help others, right? So that is the Dharma, is what he taught, and the path in itself, what are we going to do? And the Supreme Assembly are the helpers. Okay? So we do that. So may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Yes, makes sense now, the prayer? Let's do that, okay? So let's have that in mind. Let's really try to create that intention. Because the more we create it, it's like this. I want to be a doctor. So imagine if I go like this. I go for refuge until I'm a doctor, you know? So then what I'm creating, the cause is to become a doctor. So I'm going to have to study to do this, to do that. Here, we are trying to say, yes, becoming a doctor is good, but becoming Buddha, much better, right? If you become Buddha, you become doctor of everybody, everybody's problems. That's what we want. Yeah, makes sense? That's what we're going to do. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. So here is also important the third line, because it says, by the merits I create through listening to the Dharma. So merits is not like Bitcoin, not like that, okay? Not like Bitcoin. It's like merits means virtues, mindsets, mental states, virtues, mental states. Yeah? So that means I'm creating, because I'm habituating myself to have virtuous minds. And how I'm doing that? By listening to the Dharma, right? By studying the Dharma, by learning the Dharma, by learning, those methods that can help me achieve what? The elimination of my suffering and the perfection, the virtue mindset of wisdom, compassion, and power. Make sense what I'm saying? Yes? So that's why it's kind of like what we're gonna do here is just gonna be can be just like listening to blah blah blah, or can become a way, a positive way to create, our result of becoming a Buddha. Yes. So that's why I don't do prayer so much in the beginning of the talks, because it's almost half the class and we didn't start it. So that is a problem. Okay, so we are continuing our text. Actually, I need to think about what we're gonna do when we finish the text, which is gonna be in 3 weeks. So we're gonna do something else. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're gonna have a lot of things to do. Um, what? So we saw. So this text, I always like to remind us that that text, what is doing, is actually bringing us to transform. So that's why it's called mind training. or mind transformation. Lojong. Mind jong transforming, changing, right? Training the mind. What are we training the mind from to what? From what to what? We are training the mind from the mind that we have right now, the autopilot, which is selfish by nature, means just thinks about itself, right? And believes that happiness comes in a cup of Coca-Cola, right? And thinks that being angry is good, thinks that being attached is good, thinking that, kind of like manifesting and talking and speaking and saying things to others is good, that hurts others, right? That's where we are. That's the autopilot. That's where we are. So we are transforming our minds from that state that is a uncontrolled, if I can say, state, right? To our altruistic, open, free. Free from what? From the negative mind states, from the anger, from the jealousy, from the low self-esteem, from the attachment. That's what we are transforming. Yes? That's what we are trying to do it. To do it. That is what we do. That is what Lojong is about. Is that transformation. And if you think about it, I was discussing, I had this very special experience yesterday. Someone asked me, invited me to go to their house. One person that comes to the Sunday classes, and she has four kids, age 16 to 22. And we talked for 4 hours. And it's incredible to see. You know, mental health. We talked a lot about mental health. What is mental health? And if you think about it, I just feel Lojong is the best mental health there is technique, right? Recognizing the state we are in, recognizing how we work, recognizing that these ways that we work, they are simply habits, and transforming them into positive ones. That's pretty much what it is, right? But we don't talk about that in school. Some of them are university, college, nothing. Quite the opposite. You know, they almost make you, no, you need to create even more division. You need to kind of like be attached to to status, to like, fame, to money, to this, So then everybody's suffering. Then these young people getting depressed, suicide, all of that, isn't it? That is why, in Lojong is very important. And this one is a good one today, very good one, because it says like this: when someone whom I have benefited and in whom I have great hopes gives me terrible harm, I regard them as my virtuous friend. Dun, 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 dun. That first never happened to any of us, no? None of us have ever had someone that we have benefited, someone that we have great hope, someone that we love, someone that we do everything, and this person just gives us pain and harm, right? Maybe they don't get actually, they don't even say thank you for everything that we said, right? That is small little thing. But then they really start to do things that are really hurtful to us, right? They start to actually, say things to us. They start to kind of like do things that are not necessarily nice. They start to insult us. They start to kind of like, make us, I don't know, whatever we want to say, that is kind of like, I don't know why this happens. And then, we start to react to these situations, isn't it? We start to really react. We start to get angry, right? Someone that we really trusted, someone that we really loved. And this person has, is exactly the pain that we experience, isn't it? like relationships, someone, kind of like how do you say, cheats on you. Yeah. Mm? Best pain, isn't it? Like, wow, right? So we all experience that, right? Right? And of course, we experience that, but we are very good people. We would never do that for others, right? It's just others doing this to us. We have never created this, right? We never hurt someone that we like. We never said something bad. We never do it. We always very kind, very generous, very, and everybody else is nasty. Let's face it. No? As I as I like to say, that is normally how we think about karma, isn't it? Karma is that person that we don't like, that mistreated us, that did exactly what we said that they would do, they kind of like they give us terrible harm, something bad happens to them, their karma. You see? You see their karma. They did something to us, their karma. Instant karma. God is very good. They got what they deserved, isn't it? But then, when it happens to us, when the moment that actually we start to feel the pain, before we are already happy because of the harms that person got, but when they actually hurt us, the moment is like, why me? Right? What have I done? Isn't it? Normally we kind of like go into that kind of like feeling of like it's unfair. Like, and we think there is something wrong with us, especially when big things happen like breakups or things like that, when situations ruptures, or kind of like someone that we really love, some crazy things, we have so many stories of people that were married for so many years, and then kind of like, I don't know, the person just stole every money, all the money, and ran away, things like that, that you read in the newspapers are great for seeing these things, so someone that we benefited, that we had so many hopes. Wow, 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 wow. Creates a lot of suffering to us. Normally, what happens when we suffer, we do two things. That is the autopilot that we have. Okay? We either go to external anger, hmm, and as our friend on Sunday said, and then we like to be angry because it gives us that feeling of justice, no, that they did that to me, so I'm gonna do this to them, they're gonna see, I'm gonna fight, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna call best lawyer, and I'm gonna do, kind of like going to that justice mentality, isn't it? Then not only we go into justice mentality, but what we do is that we want to create harm sometimes to the other person. We want revenge. Mm. Then we start. Then all the problems we have in the world is exactly like that. All the wars, no conflicts. They came from what? Exactly situations like this, isn't it? You recognize that? You recognize? Yes, sweetheart.
Yeah. When I got my car like 2 months ago, a new car, I go to my friend's house. In the house, I see him by the window with his keys. He do like this in my car, but I don't say anything because what I think that I feel sorry for him. How something wrong.
Very good.
I don't want to fight with that person. It's already done.
Yes.
So what can I do?
Yes.
Nothing. I don't want to fight with people.
You go and scratch his car. That's what it was.
Bigger scratch.
Bigger scratch. You do bigger scratch.
I go to my
Tires.
I go back and say, oh, yeah, I continue talking with my friend.
Yes.
But I don't want to go to her house to go her
Yes.
house. So something has happened to that.
Yes.
I think he had a little thing.
Yes, 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 yes. So that is already a bit of Lojong that you did over there. We just need to be careful, okay? Because we might have a tendency sometimes that we don't like issues, problems, and we might think, no, 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 I'm not angry. Hmm? No, 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 I'm not angry. I'm not saying that it is your case, okay? But I'm saying that sometimes because of the situation, because of, sometimes it's something in the family, sometimes it's kind of like someone that we cannot actually be angry or something like this, and then we pretend that we didn't get angry. But actually, that is in some ways there. Hmm? And I always say, one of the things that when I was studying recently, because this text is quite, taught many times, so I received many commentaries about this text during the years, many times. And but it was the first time that I saw it when His Holiness was saying about the manifested emotion. Hmm? So what we're talking about here is the manifested emotion. And sometimes it's hard for us to actually recognize the manifested emotion that is happening to us, right? So that's why I'm saying, that's why I like to teach this text in a way that is, we need to first recognize the negative emotion that is coming to us. Because normally what happens is the anger, and the anger either is outside. We get angry with someone, but we might not manifest, we might not say anything, but we're still angry. We're still angry. That doesn't make the anger go away. We just don't want this person close to us. The anger becomes aversion. The anger becomes some sort of kind of like, frustration, some sort of, all of these are nuances. I love this word, of anger. Okay? But the anger is still there, it's still disturbing the mind. And then the other type of result that we can get when something like that happens, and especially like what I was talking about yesterday, the younger generation, the anger is towards oneself. I did something wrong. I am wrong. Because how I can be someone that I benefited, someone that I have, that I had great hopes, like my best friend in middle school or in high school, right? And then it can become a problem. Because then that anger goes towards oneself, and oneself starts to actually believe that there is something wrong with them, right? Because that's what anger does. Anger projects a negativity, taints, contaminates completely. So the person, so our Isabel was saying, oh, but like I'm starting to think maybe this person has some problem, right? That is a good way to start to say, wait a minute, they did something wrong, they have something wrong, but they are not always wrong, they kind of like, and there is a reason for that, right? Probably. No. Yes, we don't know, but it's not about trying to fix their problems. First to try to fix our problem, which is not getting angry. Okay. And not wanting to scratch his car. So then what we need to start doing the same with us when the anger comes towards oneself, right? Start not generalizing that maybe because of a situation that happened in this way, you are not a bad person. You are not unworthy of love, compassion, kindness, because something like that happened, because someone let you down. You understand? I find that this is actually quite important for us to hear, because if you're going to go to a psychologist, if you're going to actually see most of the problems or the reasons why people are going to psychologists is because something like that happened in their past, and they internalized that anger towards oneself, and they started to see as if this was true, and that molded their decision in life. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Do you understand? That is important, because what we are trying to say here in Lojong is to completely get out and be free from that, right? So we don't have to limit it ourselves. Remember, we said that the intention of this text is to make our minds unlimited, our compassion, our love, our altruistic mindset. So if I am here hurt by someone and I see that I am bad because of that, forget about enlightenment and benefiting all sentient beings, right? Forget about it, because I'm just here, right? I'm limiting myself in helping because I don't think I am capable, because I'm seeing, I'm projecting that wrong negativities into myself as being permanent, as being always there, as I am like that. Then we forget what we just said, that everything is habits and therefore changeable. So yeah, maybe, something happens and this doesn't stain. The most important point that I want to make here is that this doesn't stain our goodness. Okay?
So you said the answer is realization. You use
I haven't
term.
I haven't said yet. What is the answer?
Oh,
But it's like the idea is that we start to recognize it. That is first the realization of what is the negative emotion that we are holding on to, right? The manifested emotion. That's what I did. Yeah, this is the first step. You know, some people also they kind of like meditating things and all of that, and they say, they are doing transcendental meditation. I think yes, transcendental meditation. And they ask me, oh, do you think it's good? And I say, yeah, it's good. It's good, but it's good to just keep the mind focused in some ways, right? You calm a little bit the mind. But just being aware and mindful, even mindfulness, no? Now is everywhere mindfulness, mindfulness, mindfulness. Mindfulness is very good, but just mindfulness, not enough to transform the mind. Because you're just aware. So, okay, I'm aware that I'm angry at myself. Now what I do? Right? That's why you need Lojong. So you need to be aware, and then you need to have the knowledge and the skills for Lojong to transform. That is where it goes. That's how it goes together. Because then what I start to realize is that, okay, wait a minute, this is coming, from my own mind. So I can start actually seeing and trying to un, un, deconstruct, as I like to say, the story that I'm creating in my mind. Hmm? So then one of the things that we talk a lot in Buddhism is patience, cultivating patience is the main antidote for anger. Okay? Patience is the absence of wish to harm or wish to do something towards someone that is going to be hurtful. So it's the absence of revenge or anger or anything like that. There's a beautiful book from the 7th century teacher called Shantideva, and he wrote a beautiful text called Bodhisattva Charyavatara. So is the in, engaging the bodhisattva deeds, or this was an old translation. So the bodhisattva way of life. There's many translations that they did. It's funny because they all have the same, the way of the Buddha. Yeah, they have the way of the bodhisattva way of life. They have the um many different kind of like translations. With time, they went kind of like refining. So there's a chapter 6, if I'm not mistaken, only about patience. Very nice book. Very nice. It's everything there. But what it says is that we need to have a lot of freedom in some ways. Freedom, as I like to say, we need to have space to be able to practice patience. So that means that if we are angry and we are believing that story, then it's going to be very hard. So what we need to do is that we need to start creating the habitual mind to say, wait a minute, you know, it's like that's not really true, you know? And then you start to kind of like need to start developing that understanding and you start to consider that maybe that situation, a little bit like Isabel was saying, it's not as your mind is creating, right? That is important because then patience will come as whatever you can do in order to not create harm for you and for the other person. So how do you harm yourself? Allowing to express and engage in anger. That's how you harm yourself. Yeah. Why? Because anger disturbs the mind, the body, and makes it habitual for us to do it again and again and again. The more we let anger stays over there in the mind, the more habit we create to actually, be angry. The more the autopilot starts to become habituated to get angry. Okay. And then that is important to kind of like realize. So then we need to start cultivating an antidote for that. So we need to start seeing that maybe it's not like that. Using our minds to deconstruct that idea. Sometimes we can't. Sometimes we are too much in the heat. And then I always say, in this chapter is beautiful. There's so many ideas. Look, says like, stay as a piece of wood or walk away, right? Because when you start to transform your intention and our motivation, and our intention and motivation is to, achieve enlightenment, to be free from suffering, and to be, kind of like full of these qualities. So I'm going to say what? I'm going to make sure that I don't allow anger to hurt myself. And how anger hurts myself, when I am under the influence of anger, I am suffering because I'm disturbed. I have the tendency of speak and doing things with my body that are not beneficial. So I'm habituating myself to do it. So first thing is cut that. And then has the second step, which is don't do anything to others because you're gonna also create suffering for others, right? So these two things needs to be there. Okay. So then what we need to do, be as creative as possible. As long as you have that intention, you can do whatever you want. You can say, oh, I'm having diarrhea, I need to go, sorry, whatever, doesn't matter. You just say whatever, you're going to have to do it to not engage in the anger, right? I know. And the best is with family, because family so easy becomes angry, it's like bah, you know so then what we need to do is really develop that mind. Doesn't allow it to do it. Yes.
If you have anger towards yourself, would you do that too?
Same, right? Same. You need to just first discover the story that is you're telling. The story is going to be just different. It's not going to be towards that, saying that this person is like that, this person has these qualities, these negative qualities, but it's going to be, oh, I am like this, I am like that. Then you're going to have to say, wait a minute, I don't think it is true, right? Not really like that. I might have these tendencies, but I also changed quite a lot. I also done a lot of good things. I also have lots of kind of like, things that I've done that are good that I can prove to myself, right? Because the talk is you with yourself, right? So if you're alone at home, you can even talk alone, blah 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 blah, no problem. But maybe on the street, don't do that, okay? But that is a bit of self-talk, Self-talk goes like this. Hmm? So that is kind of like we start. Then we start to say, oh, wait a minute, what do I need to do? That is the moment I have it's very funny because some people I understand some things, but that's why I'm sometimes not not very not very um how do I say
Diplomatic?
no, definitely I'm not diplomatic at all. But I'm not very kind of like people don't enjoy so much having me around. Why? Because I am gonna say to some people, like for example, if I had some experiences with some like people, even monks or nuns, that they were creating a very negative mindset, right? They are kind of like feeding that towards someone, towards a place, towards a situation, and we have a vow to not watch movies, to not listen to music, to not do anything to kind of like distract ourselves, right? But I used to say to people, I, I think you should watch a movie tonight and rest, relax the mind. Why? Because this was the way that gap would open for cutting a little bit, that kind of like, and I would say to them, watch a nice movie. And then they would, and then after they would have, because they had a bit of space, they saw something, the mind calmed down, then they were able to analyze. Because I know they are, right? These people are incredible people, much better than me, real Dharma practitioners, not like me, parrot, not like this, right? They actually can do it. But they need to kind of like sometimes a little bit of a nudge.
So you disrupt the
You know?
mind.
So you disrupt the mind,
So
right?
that's kind of like taking a step back, as you said, walk away from the
Yes,
too present.
exactly. That is exact. Very good, very good. I like it. She translated it for me. That's good. But that is exactly, you speak Cowdish, you know. So it's kind of like that is the idea. Is like you actually use whatever is there, because watching a movie or being or even on Instagram, you know, or read a book or go for a walk, or you know, it's not necessarily good or bad. It depends on the intention. If you know that you need that, right? If you're feeling, so that is like when we start to have a bit more of, as I call, self-control, right? And self-knowledge of yourself, like a good sense of self-esteem, because you know that I am not like I'm stuck, I'm in the loop, and I need to do something about it, right? So you create something because you know that continuing that is going to harm you and can create the harm to others. And you, so that's why intention and motivation is so important, because that is what's going to come back, right? That is where your mind will go back to, because if you allow your mind to just be in the autopilot and then you don't have the motivation, it's just going to slide into wanting to have revenge, or then to make sure that you are the person to blame, right? Do you understand? Are we communicating? Yes. So that is important. So another way of seeing this is thinking about karma, right? For example, karma is, as we say, the main characteristics. There are four, but the two main characteristics of karma are: the more we do something, the more we habituate our minds to do it, right? So therefore, if I understand that anger towards someone else or towards myself is a feeling that is bad and I don't like it, is not nice, I don't want to habituate that, because I don't want to have that in the future. I'm not liking it now. I don't want to have in the future, right? And the second part of the karma, which is the difficult part with what we are discussing, is that what goes around comes around. So if you're being hurt, it's because you hurted someone. Because you hurt someone. If someone is kind of like, you know, uh, giving terrible harm, it's because you have harmed someone. So now the problem, the good aspects of karma that says is that if the harm is there, it means that that seed is kind of like it blossom. I'm not gonna say blossom. How to say sprouted, right? Ripen. Yeah, ripen, right? So like ripen means like done, like kind of like, yeah, yes. So it's like, so as I like to say, the bloom is the, I'm gonna say something very bad, but I'm gonna say, okay, the sheet already hit the fan. Okay, it's already there. Okay, therefore it means that it's a good thing. Why? Because it means that that karma that you created, that seed, is gone. Okay, now comes the moment of choice. Are you going to create the same result again? Or are you going to stop it there? Do you understand what I'm saying? No.
No. Because like say is a karma is something happens to me is because I did something somebody before. I never did nothing like that in a card. No.
How do you know?
You don't have any
You don't.
time to go.
Right.
It's like
That is the thing, right? It's not only in another life, but do you remember what you have done? What you have, like, if I ask you, please describe the 24 hours of your life yesterday. Can you do that?
no.
Yeah. Therefore, it doesn't necessarily need to be a direct experience of you scratching the car of someone. Okay? Karma doesn't necessarily is that black and white, okay? But it's you causing harmings for someone, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be that person as well, directly in that situation, like, oh, because maybe you never know that, but normally is that what happens to us, no? Suddenly someone comes and starts screaming at us or get angry at us or something like that. We don't even know that this person in this life, right? But we have created the causes, to receive that, okay? Someone screaming at us. Because maybe we had screamed at someone, okay? Doesn't necessarily need to be that person. Huh? You to your husband, to the cat, maybe. So that is the idea. Okay? So we have created it. Karma is a very difficult topic. We call it kind like very um how is the word that they use? Very hidden phenomena. Okay? It means that we cannot understand, because if you're gonna see what actually karma means, is that all the situations, everything is interconnected. You understand? So everything that you do, everything that you do before, it kind of like came together for that to kind of like appear. Not just one situation. Karma is just not like, it's like these plant. It's not just putting one seed. It's not just the seed. The seed is not enough, right? You understand? So actually, the seed came from all of the conditions that happened, for example, of a previous what is the name of this thing? Orchid flower. The previous flower, right? So it's like all of this, all of the water, all of the thing that the previous flower that gave birth to the seed. You understand? And then the seed is here. So everything is there. So if you think about it, the sun that heat the flower, look at it. So everything that happened for the sun to exist, it's a cause and conditions for that flower to exist. Do you understand what I'm saying? How kind of like a little bit mind blowing it is.
Did you say the sun exists so that it will?
No, I'm saying that everything that made it possible, for the causes and conditions that made it possible for the sun to exist, are also conditions for these to exist. You understand?
Yeah,
That's kind of
way
right?
out.
Way out there. Yes, this is way out there, but that is the idea, right? Yes, right.
So that person is our virtuous friend. Yeah, they've helped extinguish a negative seed. They've harmed us. They're
Yes, yeah. This is one. It's one of them. It's one of the reasons why we see them as a negative, as
they're
a
also giving me the opportunity to
yes,
practice the Dharma, or more
Yes.
specifically practice Lojong and
Yes.
transform my mind.
yes. But then it needs to come from us, right? That understanding, because it's not just because otherwise,
They're giving, that's
if we
giving me
want,
the opportunity.
if we want to, yes,
do that.
yes, yes. If we want to, that is exactly, and then that's the idea. So just a second. You handsome?
I'm bringing back to the anger,
To the anger, yes.
just put it together, try to explain. I know someone in my work always make me anger.
Uh-huh.
I know. And every time I work, I try to avoid, it just get anger,
Yes.
and I can't.
Mhm.
I aware. I know what is happening. I
Yes.
feel it, and I cannot.
Not control. You have zero
control.
control. Yes,
Zero
yes, 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 yes.
So what I understand is the patience. I need to work on patience.
Yes, you need to work on patience. You need to work on what we are talking about, karma now. If you start to think about, if you believe, not believe in a blind faith belief, but if you start to look into the way things exist in your life, you start to see the cause and effect relationship, right? If you scream at your boss, it's going to be very hard for you to have a promotion. No, let's face it, right? So then, but if you scream to someone, maybe you're going to be sued, right? Isn't it like that? So you start to understand the cause and effect relationship. So
I
then,
understand. Understand the theory, I understand.
but
So
then
the
it,
practice is at home to create the patient, or what's
the practice is familiarizing yourself with these tools to transform your mind. So you need to familiarize yourself. How are you doing that? By being here first. First point, check. Second point is when you get out of here, you don't forget about it. So you try to keep it in your mind, what we are discussing, as a way to contemplate on that, on a more habituate yourself in that, right? That is the problem already, is the first problem, right? Because if you don't have something like a prayer, like a text, like something, normally we tend to forget. Yes? That's why you need to listen to these teachings again and 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 again, right? Because the mind is going all the time away from it. Okay? Third, meditating. This week, no? This week we did the meditation on anger, right? Was this week? On the in the morning?
Saturday.
In the morning? No, in the mornings. Yes. The mornings we did Mondays and Wednesdays we did meditation on anger. One towards others, right? And one towards oneself, right? So we did a meditation on that. Hmm? So that means that if you do that, you're familiarizing yourself with it. So that means what you're doing, habituating yourself. So the moment you see your person at work, if you familiarize that, you see it, and then you can realize it. Its anger is coming, so you know what to do. So you start to use those many different things, that you habituated, that you learned, that you read, to not allow this to happen. There's no other way. There's no magic pill, and then I don't do it anymore. It's just through effort in the beginning. Is the same as the motivation, but with time becomes easier, right? But you need to have this very established in your mind that you don't want to create anger for you, and you don't want to. And that is the first point, which is normally difficult. Because, as our friend said on Sunday, we like to be, right? Because anger, we believe, is an energy that makes us move and do things, you know? But the way it makes us do and say things, not very good, right? The mind becomes a bit blurry, so we say some stupid thing to someone, kind of like, oh, yes, okay. You become sarcastic, you become snappy, you become rude, you become this. So then you're just allowing this to happen to you because you're disturbed. Funny enough, this person I not even know, right? That they actually make you angry. And they are not experiencing anything. So who is hurt? Who is actually being hurt in this situation? You, right? It is very important to understand. That's why it's very important to understand that we want to be free from that, right? That's the establishment that we want. I want to stop suffering. I want to stop realizing, like having these anger issues. Yeah. So that is, and then we start to say, okay, patience, okay, karma. I don't want to experience that again. So what I'm doing here is different kind of like things. So you guys can start thinking, oh, if these already happened to me now, it's done, great. I don't want to do it again. I don't want to have to encounter that again, right? So, she didn't get angry. She didn't go over there and scratch the car. So she created the cause for not having another car scratched. But we don't know which other seeds she has in her mind from before. So maybe she created. We don't know. So you understand, but I don't want to create now. You say, no, 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 not now. Now I'm not going to do it, right? So we also need to kind of like try to start. Shantideva also has a beautiful thing, a beautiful things that it says like that. If a problem has a solution, if a problem has a solution, like worrying about or being in a bad mood or anger towards it, what is the benefit? You know, why? Why to do that? If a problem doesn't have a solution, why begin being mad at it? You know, how's it going to help you? So that also helps. Just thinking about that, right? And then you're saying, okay, there is a solution. You know, I can just walk away when he's coming. I don't need to be with him. If I have to be with him, I can have someone with me so I don't have, get angry at him. You can create. That's what I'm saying. The creativity for you to not allow that, right? So that is very important. So to overcome is like it's a process of understanding yourself, understanding the negativity of the emotion, and not wanting to do that, and wanting to find a solution to not do that. Right? That is the idea. And then compassion, right? Compassion is always a word. It's always what it helps, right? Just really seeing, wait a minute, this person is also suffering. This person is also liked by someone. This also is like the husband or wife of someone, the son or daughter of someone, is the father of someone, is just, you know? So then we start to say, maybe this person is suffering. Am I gonna kind of like add to that suffering? Do we want to be these type of people? I don't think so. Nobody wants, right? This person just wants to be happy and not suffer. So you start to kind of like see that, and you start to develop these positive qualities and mindsets, right? So they're giving us the opportunity to practice these things, right? That is why we say, we regard them as my virtuous friend. Why? Because what they're teaching us, what are they teaching us? They are teaching us the two wings that will bring us to enlightenment. That's what they are doing. They are helping us to eliminate our negative tendencies, and they are helping us to see things without that confused mind, and to open our hearts and develop the good qualities, which is what brings us to enlightenment. So actually, we say, Lama Zopa, there's a beautiful text from Nagarjuna. I think I remember the translation of it, like something about homage, or no, it's not homage, something like this about living beings, like it's about sentient beings, talking about how sentient beings, how people, in this case, we're talking about people, but how sentient beings, it's they are the most important, even more important sometimes than the guru itself, right? Why? Because without them, we cannot practice. So if we have that, the supreme teacher is what? Is that they are actually helping us to achieve our own realizations in our minds, our own happiness, our own absence of suffering. Makes sense? That's what the virtuous teacher is, right? They're giving us, and especially they're helping us, because the text says something that I also like a lot. Is like, in whom I have great hopes. Normally, great hopes, it's another word to say attachment. Okay? Great hopes. It's a beautiful text that talks also about hopes and fears, But that's about hopes. Hopes is attachment. It's like, I have a lot of hopes for this person to give me everything that I want. So what this person is doing? Helping us to stop decreasing, or stop or decrease, eliminating our own clinging. Just attack. I think she has a question. Oh, yeah.
I just want a little bit of clarity around the virtuous friend, and
Yes.
really, I'll use their example.
Yes.
So the scratching of the car,
Yeah.
I give you so much praise for saying, okay, we can still be friends, but I'm not
Yeah.
taking that car over there anymore.
Yeah.
Because I would have been like, we're not friends anymore.
Mhm.
What
Yes.
does what does it say? How would you show up being virtuous to somebody that has maybe done you harm?
It's not about you being virtuous to them. It's about you seeing them as a condition, a special possibility. They are giving you a special possibility to practice, if you want to practice. And that is the difference, right? What I'm gonna comment on what you say is that when you say that I don't want to be friends anymore, that is in some ways allowing the anger and the aversion to stay, right? Therefore, the difference in what will make you say, I'm gonna still come over, right? And it doesn't mean that I'm gonna go, and if I can even go with my car and I'm just gonna allow him to scratch my entire car. I'm not talking about that. You're not about stupid compassion. Huh? Remember we talked about already, but we're gonna talk more about stupid compassion. But what we talk about is actually you not harming yourself first and your mind of allowing the anger, right? So the virtuous friend is because this person is helping you to see that. So they did something that was bad for you, right? So you transform that experience that would be bad, that will make you angry, that will allow you to become even more habituated in anger and all of that, to eliminate, to say, no way. I'm going to use these, transform that situation into the opposite of it, into a situation for me to practice patience, to practice compassion, to practice love, and habituate myself more and more in that. So then this person, actually, you want to go there more and more. Do you understand? Right? You want to be close to the person that actually makes you angry, right? Because he's like, okay, let's see my patience, how it is, right? You know? It's like, oh yes, because that is something that also happens to us. We are extremely, how I'm gonna put it.
We improve. We don't improve.
It's if we want to practice, we will improve. It's just about one thing. It's just about motivation. That I think it is possible. You know, it is. But it's true. If we don't think that we are improving, then it's better not to go. Yeah.
We
But-
think we improve. And then, oops.
Another test.
But that is no problem. Is thinking that we. That's very good. Thank you. That's a very good way of thinking. We have a tendency to think that improving means we will never do it again. Ah, that's very good. I like it, because that is a good way of to say it. It's an important point. Guess what? You have been habituating yourself for zillions, billions, lives. And then now you do it 2 times and you think that you eradicated all of the habits. That is a wrong view. No, honestly, that's very good. Because if you see it like that, what happens? You become relaxed with yourself. And then you try again. You don't lose the effort, right? To actually practice because you believe and you see how it is good when you actually can control the mind. Makes sense what I'm saying? That is good. That's very good. Very good. Because then you start to say, but then that's the problem. You know, we think that just a second time I'm gonna not lose my patience. You know, I lose my patience all the time, you know, and I've been doing this for 12 years, you know. Imagine. So that's normal. Why? Because we habituated ourselves so much strongly. So it's very ingrained. So it's just not like, you know, just like, oh, okay, no. Think about that the roots are just like, you know, in going to the center of the world, you know, and you need to uproot that, right? So every time you do a little bit, right? But the more you do it, the easier it becomes. So that is important. It's very good that you said that, you know, because then what you do, you say, oh, no, I'm not, it's not working. I don't want. No, it worked. Yes, but you're still going to follow it, right? So, and then the next time, okay, I didn't do it again. Good. Oh, I did it again for a week. It's okay. Just go back. What do I need to make it stronger, the practice? Okay, go back again, right? Goes like this. Someone, right? You want to say? Ah, yes, you wanted to say, go, go, go.
Now, what, okay, I'm stuck in the thoughts that I created suffering and pain for other people,
Mhm.
and now I'm suffering about it. It's kind of like I deserve to suffer for it. And in that suffering, am I satisfying some karma?
Satisfying, you mean kind of like a ripening karma,
Like-
yes?
Like balancing it out, like getting merit for suffering
It
This is, I know this may be a crazy way to think, but this is what I'm thinking.
But this is very good. But it depends on what you are doing with the suffering, right? Because if you are like suffering and then creating anger towards the person that is now making you suffer, or creating anger towards yourself, right? Because of the things you did in the past, what will happen is that you're just increasing that anger. So you're just habituating. So that means you're going to continue to suffer. But if you use that moment and realize, wait, oh, I am angry to myself because I did that. Doesn't matter what I did, it doesn't make me a bad person. I am not a bad person. I am not a bad person. I am not a bad person because I did what I did. I did what I did because of habit, and I didn't know best. Is what I had it in that moment. That's what it was. Simple habit. That, if I understand that, and because it is habit, I can transform it, and I want to. So instead of coming with the whip and making myself anger towards myself again, which is the habit that I having now, I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to be very kind to me and say, you did your best, don't worry. Right? You need to now make sure that you don't do it again. You know best now. Right? But what you're doing, what normally, and sweetheart, what you just described is the story of all of us. Okay? That's what I was talking yesterday with these incredible kids, right? Because at that moment, at that age, is what starts. We start to do is like this, and then we start to do, and then we start to create that habit, right? Of course, that habit didn't come now, but it comes in previous life, doesn't matter. Let's just observe from this point of view of this life. We start to create these images of ourselves, right? And then we start to say, oh, I'm a bad person. Look at this. So then I don't deserve this. Then we start to like turn the guys, the one of the boys said something to tunnel vision about ourselves, right? That starts to delineate or delineate, yeah, is what exists. The linear, like limit the limit. This is just to limit ourselves because we believe, we crystallize, we solidify one action out of habit as who we are. If we look at who we are a bunch of things. We are not one thing. And the way we are is just because we have habits. And therefore, as I said, habits, what is the nature of habit? What is the quality of habit? It can be changed. Right? I said about that. I said that today already. You guys are sleeping. You know, if it can be that, that means that I cannot undo what I did, but I can make sure that I don't do it again. Right? That is it. And then I'm going to make sure that I don't have to kind of like not only hurt others, but stop hurting myself. Because that is the real hurt. That is the real pain. Because why? Because you could be a Buddha. You can be a Buddha. And the moment you're hurting yourself and you're kind of like angry at yourself, you are not allowing yourself to help others. Think about that. That for me really helped with my self-hate. Every time that I was hating myself and thinking, you're stupid, you can do not do that, I realized that I was not allowing others to receive my help. Because when I am, without this self-hate and I'm thinking about others, then I do something to help others. But if I'm stuck into, oh no, wow, I did that, I'm wrong, I'm not enough, I'm not this. And does it make sense? Yes. That is very important. And another thing that really helps me, it was the concept of Buddha nature, that we all are pure by essence. We are like the sun in the sky. Doesn't matter how stormy the weather is. It doesn't matter how bad what we have done. Doesn't matter. It doesn't stain our purity. Doesn't. Just simply doesn't. So what we need to do here, we need to familiarize and to kind of like start really come back or recognize or reconnect with that purity and essence. You know, how do we do that? When we start doing things for others, when we start to find and to develop and to manifest compassion, love, kindness. Because these are qualities of that purity, right? That's for me when I start to see the very connection between the idea of Buddha nature and God. What's God? God is pure love and all of that we say, right? Same. Buddha nature, we could say. The Mayeshi used to say that, right? And we are that. Don't don't forget that. Familiarize yourself with that. You know, self-talk, reading, being, and then do something for others, and then you receive that. So that's being wisely selfish, right? Because the more you do that, then you receive, then you start to believe, and then you start to have the strength to get out of that habit. Then, wow, the heart explodes. Then you can help everybody. Then enlightenment tomorrow. Maybe going today back home. Yes, that is very important. That is how, you know, we start to see these people that we have heard, that have heard us as incredible people. So precious in our life. Best. Much more than the friend that says, oh yeah, everything is okay. Oh yeah, you're perfect. Oh no. Oh yeah, they are wrong. You're good. There is no good friends. That's why I'm not very popular. Because I'm not good. I don't do that. If people call me, so many times I have that. People call me and they start, oh no, but you know this person. And I said, if you if you are asking me to agree with you that say that they are wrong and you are good, I'm not gonna do it. Because that's not a Buddhist point of view. Right? They did because of their karma, because of their negative actions, because their negative tendencies, because their wrong views, because they wanted to be happy and not suffer, just like you. Okay? Makes sense what I tried to say today? I didn't ask if the people online have something to say. Hmm? Oh no, not Bob. No, 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 no. Hello, dear. How is
Hey,
Hawaii?
a long way away.
A long way away. Tell me.
When you were talking about the seed and the flower,
Hmm.
is that an example of the two truths? That the way
Very
we
good.
see the seed and the flower is the conventional truth as opposed
Let's say that the reality of cause and effect is the relative truth,
right.
right?
Okay.
Everything is relative, everything depends on others, right? But the actual way of seeing the ultimate truth of that would be to say, because these things existing depending on the sun, depending on that, it cannot exist from its own side.
Correct.
And existing from its own side is the way that appears to us. So the way it's appearing to us is completely crazy, totally wrong. Make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Very good. I'm liking that you're making connections between the classes. Very good. Okay. Nobody else? No? Chrissy, where's our friend? Where's my good friend? He's
Oh,
not
he's
there?
here. There. Oh, he's there. See
Is
him?
there sleeping? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, he's listening.
Tell him that there's no enlightenment, by lying on the couch. No, no, no. You can also have no enlightenment lying on the couch. Okay, so I think that was pretty much what I had to say. Let me check. Yes, I think that's it. That was exactly this. So let's do some dedications, okay? Let's make sure that we kind of like not only planted the seed, not only, we made the motivation to transform, we planted the seed. Now let's make sure that we keep that going, rolling, as we were discussing, like making sure that we try to do it, because otherwise, we forget. Then it's very good. We come here 1 hour once a week. Oh, very nice. So nice, these things that these monks say. So nice, And then I come out and then just make it dirty again. Then, yeah.
Not like that.
It's not like that, yeah. Unfortunately, no. I know you guys I know my voice and my my all of that, but that's not enough. If you don't actually put it into practice, if you don't really, apply to your own mind, that's why I say it is for you. The Dharma doesn't exist anywhere besides in our own minds. Yeah? You understand what I mean by that? It only becomes Dharma when we apply to our minds. It only becomes Dharma when we transform the mind. Otherwise, all of these that you say, we're listening, we call conventional Dharma. Yes, it's like, but that's not Dharma. The Dharma is the transformation, right? Dharma is the kind of like when you let it go of the anger and you think about compassion. That's Dharma. That's Dharma happening, right? Yes,
I
Mr.
just want to clarify, your voice, quality of sound.
He's very kind, right? Very, very kind to me since last year. And that's why tomorrow I'm gonna do a special talk for him. Only for him, because he has to. You all can come, but it's gonna be specially for him. Okay? Because he asked, so I'm doing that for him because he's very kind. Okay, so next time, if you are also very kind and you want me to do a talk about burritos, you can also ask me and I do talk about burritos. Burritos. Okay, so let's dedicate. Ah, sorry, sir.
So Dharma is the teaching.
The relative Dharma, we call it, is the teachings of the Buddha. The scriptures, now the videos, the books, like everything.
If we can make that transition within ourselves, that's the real Dharma.
Yes. The real Dharma is the transition,
Transition.
the
within-
transformation.
With transformation.
Is the transformation that
Within
every
oneself.
transformation that brings you closer to enlightenment is Dharma. Make sense? That is what practicing Dharma actually means. We could stay hours talking about that because, to be honest, that is the problem with most people that I know practicing Buddhism for many years. They don't understand what Dharma means.
I think it's also confusing Dharma with a capital D is what we're talking about, but Dharma is with a small d are phenomena. And sometimes when you're reading, that can get confusing.
That not so much because they already changed the translation, because that is the same cho in Tibetan. They use the four phenomena. I don't think that's that. I'm talking more about actually what it means to transform the mind, right?
Right.
To really put it kind of like, as I was saying, that yes, you all hear all of these beautiful words and this melodious voice, but if you don't actually, the next time that anger comes, don't make it go away, decrease, diminish, and don't replace it with a positive mind, there's no Dharma there. Even if in your mind you kind of like being nice to that person. Let's say, I'm gonna give her chocolate, but in your mind you're angry. You're still angry. It's not an external thing. That is more what I want to say, because that is the problem sometimes. We start to use all of these. I'm going to use another bad word. I'm going to be expelled by the Buddhist word one day. All of these shenanigans, okay? as thinking that this is Dharma. Even wearing these, and we think, oh, I'm practicing Dharma because I'm wearing a cloth. You have no idea what you're talking about. Because if you're not using these clothes to look down and remind yourself that you're fighting your delusions, that this is your armor for fighting the delusions, if you don't remember that, no Dharma. Makes sense what I'm saying? Yes? It's very important. Hmm?
Amazing. My mind is blown. Yeah, I was thinking teaching.
You know, that is the Dharma. That is the actual Dharma, the actual transformation. That's why we say that when we have these, and when we kind of like transform the mind completely, for example, we completely eliminate the anger, for example, of the mind, okay? Then we have a realization of the Dharma. And realization means that we made the Dharma transform and it doesn't come back again. So that's what we want to achieve. We want to achieve realization of Dharma. We want to realize Dharma. Because then it means that our mind's completely transformed. And guess what? Don't come back again. Make sense? Yes? So that's what realization means. Yeah. Okay, let's then do prayers, dedication prayers, so we can actually dedicate all of these incredible, mm, positive seeds that we planted in our minds right now. We really did. Just by being here, some of us, we are like maybe 10 here, 12 online or something like that. We are, 20 people here today on a Thursday evening, south of Florida, thinking and listening to these things. Wow. But just listening, not enough, right? Just listen to the melodious voice of Cowden. Not enough, right? We really need to make it practice. So that's why we dedicate. We dedicate that we can do that. We can actually put into practice. Okay? So let's do that. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel, bodhicitta, that has not arisen, arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. And of course, as we say, it's funny because it says here, funny, no, but it's perfect, right? May I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha. Okay? So we're going to become a Buddha, and so we can do what? Lead all living beings, all sentient beings without exception, so they can attain the same state of enlightenment, right? So that means that we need to be guided. We need to be led. Because right now, we are being led by the autopilot, right? So that's what we need. So that's why we do these long life prayers for our teachers, because we need them. It's selfish, completely for us, completely saying, please, Dalai Lama, I am being completely controlled by my autopilot. I need help. So live long. Because the more you are here, the more you teach me, the more I diminish and decrease my autopilot. Yeah, makes sense what I'm saying? You're going to say something?
I was just gonna say, can you also quickly translate the last
This one?
4 lines?
The Supreme Jewel Bodhicitta?
Yeah.
Okay, so bodhicitta is the mind that wants to achieve enlightenment in order to benefit sentient beings. So it's the motivation. It's an intention mind, right? So that is a jewel. Why is supreme jewel? Because if I don't have that, I'm not practicing Dharma. If I don't have that mind in my mind, is what I was telling our friend. If she doesn't want to then practice, then she's gonna say, I don't want to be your friend, right? It's just the autopilot. So the jewel of bodhicitta, the bodhicitta is the mind that is counteracting our autopilot. Because if we don't have that mind, then we don't practice Dharma. If I don't want to benefit others, if I don't want to achieve enlightenment, I'm not going to practice Dharma. Makes sense? So it means that has not a reason, arise and grow. So may I kind of like keep growing it and feeding it and nourishing it, right? And may that which has a reason not diminish, but increase more and more and more. Make sense? Okay. So that's why we want the Dalai Lama in our lives, so he can help us to increase more and more our bodhicitta motivation. Okay. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. So in the land encircled by the snow mountains, mean in Tibet, okay? You are the source of all happiness and good. Why? Because you are actually, giving us the Dharma, which is the source of all happiness and good. All-powerful Chenrezig. Chenrezig is the Buddha of compassion. So out of your incredible compassion, you have 1,000 arms, you manifest in so many ways to benefit others. Tenzin Gyatso is his name. Please remain until samsara. Samsara is our continuous habitual suffering, the loop of suffering, like that. Okay? So until that is finished for me and also to be, everybody, please come back. Please be alive and coming back again and again. Okay? That's the idea. And then we do a prayer for the swift return of Rinpoche, because like maybe we don't have the possibilities of seeing and meeting His Holiness all the time, even though if we pray and if we create the conditions, some of us we're gonna go to India this year. We have a meeting with His Holiness in October, so we hope this will happen. So so we're creating that strong connection. So we also want to create this strong connection with Rinpoche, who, because of Rinpoche, this place exists. Okay? And Rinpoche guides us, guiding us. Healers, teacher, and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Lojong, father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now. Holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice, you wear the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make this request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and from other living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great ways of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. This prayer was done by the Dalai Lama, and we could actually get enlightened by just saying this prayer. Everything's there. Okay, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy. I hope it was beneficial in any way. And I see you tomorrow for the Tantra. I see you on Saturday for for those that we are going to the Everglades. We're gonna have so much fun. And I see you Sunday for the final blah 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 in person this time. This next month. I'll probably come back but I will have to go and I have to go to stay with my dad a little bit. Then we go to India, Nepal, and then maybe I come back. Okay?
Sunday, what time?
11. Our normal. Yes, our normal teachings. 11 to 12:30. And 10:15 there's meditation. So you also can come for meditation on Nenga. Okay? Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.